One thing we didn't talk about, I think is kind of interesting, is where your camera is located on your computer. And if you're looking at a teleprompter and trying to look at the camera. So, because right now I'm looking at Gilda. So my eyes are going to be down a little bit. If Gilda's looking at me, she could tell my eyes are not as good as if I'm looking at the camera, right? If I'm looking at the camera, don't I look like I'm looking more at you, right, Gilda?
Yes. Now
Okay.
I'm looking at you. Am I looking at you? I'm looking at you on the camera screen. What does it look like? My eyes are down?
A little bit. You know what I mean? So it's not really, but it's a little bit different. And so if you're doing a teleprompter and you have, say your notes are on the screen and they're down here, and I'm looking like this as I'm reading certain things, that's not as good as if you can drag your Word document or whatever you're looking at up towards the camera, and you can get rid of the toolbar or whatever on your document so that the words are as high up on the document as possible so that your eyes are closer to the camera. So those are some tips that you don't think about. I think when you have to give a presentation, if you have to use notes at all, I think it helps to get on Zoom like this and record yourself giving the presentation if you're going to read them. Now, if you're old like me, you're going to make the words really big so you can see them. But the point is, if they're on a wide Word document and you're looking like this, your eyes are going back and forth. So you want to make your margins very narrow so your eyes don't move much. So you're going like this. Now you can scroll with your finger on the mouse down the slides or whatever you're reading, but you really kind of want the words to be very narrow because otherwise your eyes are going and you look a little crazy.
That's really good advice because you can tell who's reading a prompter when you're watching the news.
Oh yeah.
Go the left to right, left to right, left to right.
And you have to assume that they're giving them in the right format. So there is a skill to it as well. Like people can kind of stare a little bit more and then others are kind of,
So it's once again, rehearse.
Practice. You can't
possibly know how to do this without rehearsal. Now let's talk about the people who are not necessarily giving presentations, but are just trying to do their work in a hybrid kind of format, or else just work from home kind of format. And that becomes very difficult because they have every statement out of their mouth has got to be some kind of killer piece of information. So the people in that sea of postage stamp faces will hear and will respond.
Well, I just think that people are just so obsessed and worried about what they're going to say that a lot of times that they don't think about these little things that we're talking about because they get to the last minute and they go, oh, I should have thought about that. This is all the prep stuff. And that's why I like your book so much because there's a lot of the prep stuff that a lot of people overlook. And prep, there's a lot of ways to make your presentations be a little more interesting. And I'm actually we're not using it today because I still have to learn more, but have I showed you my Stream Deck?
No, what is that?
This is my new technology toy.
My Dickie friend, I love you.
I don't know if you can see, but there's a little picture. So you could see that picture that'll tell me to go to my website. This picture will tell me to go to my PowerPoint.
Oh.
There are different things that, when you watch somebody on news and it says at the bottom, ABC or Fox or CNN or whatever they're on, it'll have a little bar at the bottom and have their name and whatever it's at the bottom. Well, I could set that up this way with this software. So while I'm talking to you on Zoom, I could have the bar at the bottom with my name and my things, and I could just push buttons and it'll go, oh, you want my website? And then bloop, it'll come up on the screen. Oh, you want this? Bloop, it comes up on screen. So it's we'll do that in a future one. I got to work with Ford a little bit.
Fun.
It's really fun. And it's not, it's just a little time consuming to put it together. But basically this thing I just showed you is a remote control for software on your computer.
Wow.
And so you just have to learn to set the buttons on that so it knows what you want software to go across, which I don't find hard, but a lot of people might. But
I do.
Might. But that's why I know somebody, if anybody's interested, who teaches this, and he's awesome. But it's not me. But contact me if you want at drdianehamilton.com. Happy to connect you to him. But the thing is, you can really do some wonderful presentations, because it's just not with Zoom, it's with Teams or any of the presentation software. It just defaults to whatever you've got. You'll lose your Zoom stuff that you're used to. Like if you have faded your face or done anything in Zoom, that stuff won't carry over into it. But I don't use a lot into that stuff. So I don't know a lot, if you have all kinds of filters or whatever set up in Zoom, it'll be different now. You'll have whatever it is, but you could connect like a really good camera. I did buy a good camera, but I haven't really found that it gives, like the kind that I don't want to attach. I'm afraid I'll disconnect you. But just a regular camera, that you would use. I have a video. You can connect. You can have that computer I was on before connected, so you can have a couple screens going. You can flip back and forth between screens, and it's a really dynamic way to present. And if we're talking about how we're going to come across in these presentations, sometimes the technology part is cool because people go, oh, I saw, and they start talking about you. Oh, I saw this presentation. You should have seen the cool stuff that it did. And things scrolled up. And then when they were off, when I forgot my microphone, a picture came up, said you're muted. And this came up and this came up when things happens. And people really like it because you feel like you're with real newscasters and things. And you could actually turn your lights on and do all kinds of stuff so that you don't have to get up. If something happens, if your volume's off, you can push a button, and it tells you. So I think some of this, we're going to see more of this, is my point. As we're home and we're doing these professional things, we're going to end up being our own engineers. Which we're very thrilled with. Because that's
exactly what I wanted to buy into. Exactly.
At least you know who your tech support person is, though.
I sure do. 1-800-CALL-DIANE.